Hi, and welcome back to MMAnytt. I'm here with Daria, who's tough. Is it just Tough Daria these days?
No, it's Daria Baronato still, but you can call me Tough Daria if it makes you feel better.
Tough Daria. Matt Lopez is back with us, about to fight again, and Vardan Sholinian as well, the Barbarian Sholinian even, about to fight for RFA in Vegas. This is the first Vegas card, right, for RFA, or is it the second one?
No idea.
I think it's the first.
First for us.
Yeah, first for these guys at least.
That's all that matters.
Right, right. And half of your career has been with RFA at this point.
I think this, other than UFC, I think it's probably one of the best organizations. I love it,
And they love you. Obviously, you keep winning 3-0 with the RFA, right?
Well, yeah. If I keep winning, they have to love me, right?
How far away are you from a title shot, do you think, with RFA?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think that the way things are going now, it's one of those things that's inevitable. If I keep winning and keep winning the way I am winning, they can't deny me. You know what I mean? So I'm just taking my time.
You're not in a rush. You don't want that. You don't want to start calling for that title. Or?
I'm kind of in between. I do want it, but it's just one of those things. It's a process. I could scream from the top of my lungs, "Hey, I want this title shot." It doesn't necessarily mean I'll get it or it'll come any sooner. They know I want. I've talked to Ed about it, So it's just one of those things that I just got to keep working towards. My focus is on next Friday or 2 Fridays from now,
right?
And that's all I can control. That's it. So.
Well, you're definitely a consistent guy, and that's really rare at this level in the game. I mean, you've won 3 times for RFA, but you've never lost as a professional. And the last time I think you've lost was
I haven't
years ago. Your amateur career, didn't you have one loss?
I didn't do any amateur.
Never. Oh, okay, never then. And so it's definitely a great place to be at this point in your career, and I think that, like you said, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
Ed Soares knows it.
Yeah.
All the people at RFA see it. And hey, if you don't get the title shot at RFA, maybe you'll go straight to the UFC.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As long as I stay prepared, I stay ready for the next challenge. Who knows? I could be getting ready for RFA 32, and the UFC, someone falls out and they need someone to replace them, and I'll be ready. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
What would you prefer, a call from the UFC or the title?
Oh, UFC for sure. My goal is not to. I don't want to downplay it, but my goal is not to be the best in RFA. My goal is not to get a contract from the UFC. My goal is literally to be the best in the world. And so all this stuff they're just stepping stones. It's not small goals. Like that's during the path, you know what I mean? I just crossed those roads. So I'm not looking to, reign over the RFA for the next 5 or 6 years with the RFA belt. No, I'm wanting to get in the UFC, and I want to start making my mark.
And Vardan, you made your mark in wrestling. You're Armenian.
Yeah, I was born in Armenia, but when I was 4, my family moved to Ukraine, so I grew up in Ukraine all my life. I lived there.
Do you consider yourself Ukrainian or Armenian, or at this point American?
I would say Ukrainian Armenian. I don't know.
Ukrainian
I'm Armenian.
Armenian.
I'm 100% Armenian, but my home is Ukraine because I never even lived in Armenia. But I love being Armenian. I love Armenians, and I love to raise that flag. So I would say I would consider myself to both sides.
Do you feel more Armenian now after training at the
Yes,
Glendale Fight Club and being surrounded by Armenians?
I do, yeah, for sure. And I'm actually coming out on this fight under Armenian music, so kind of.
Is that
Embracing
mandatory?
the heritage.
No, I just like it. I just love it. I just want to raise Armenian. There's not much Armenian fighters right now, on top. I just want to become there's a couple of up and coming fighters like me, and I just want to be on the same level with them, and maybe even go farther. Being Armenian fighter, and I'm gonna live in Ukraine eventually, and.
When it comes to the Ukraine, is it hard for you to focus on fighting with everything that's going on over there? Are you affected by it at all?
Well, my family lived in Kiev, so it's not really. There's not much going on right now in Kiev, but that's where everything began. But yeah, of course, it's hard when I go on Facebook and there's always some kind of news, someone died and yeah, it's hard to realize that there's actually something going on against Russia. That's crazy. It's like USA fights Canada, for instance. Same culture, same language, not same, but similar. I don't understand what's going on. Yeah,
right?
It's hard. It's hard to realize that this is actually going on right now.
Have you been back?
I haven't, but I'm going back end of this year, and I haven't been back in Ukraine like for 4 years, so it'll be really hard to.
MMA is definitely one of those sports that raises awareness for different nations all the time. I mean, we've seen Ireland come up. We've seen Sweden come up from it.
See you next week, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the same can happen for Armenia and the Ukraine. You guys like you are building that territory more and more. Edmund Tarverdyan, one of your coaches, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's my main coach, my head coach.
Your main coach is a big Armenian culture. He brings that through Ronda Rousey and other big fighters. So I definitely think that you're on the right path for creating awareness for countries like yours.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially whatever Edmund does right now for Armenian fighters, he kind of wants to build up that gym. You know, we're always like welcome to have like American fighters, Mexican, whatever, like any fighters. But like his main focus on Armenian fighters to build up like Armenian MMA from our gym. You know, like so like Armenian MMA fighting will be recognized out of Glendale Fighting Club first.
I think then, he's done that already.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like for instance, now people like watch Irish MMA. Like I mean, they recognize Irish MMA from like Conor McGregor's gym, from Conor McGregor. So that's I think what Edmund's doing right now. He wants to bring that, and you know, it works well. We have good up and coming fighters like me. Like we have a couple fighters. Alfred Hashanyan, for instance, 135er. He's on a big winning streak. Yeah. Knocks people out, right, left and right. Yeah, and me and there's we have a Melsik Bogdasaran boxer, undefeated. So we'll see what happens. You know, we're all coming for those.
Ukraine is definitely known for its wrestling. Russia, Ukraine, and boxing as well. Two brothers, world champion heavyweights, and the Klitschko brothers are both Ukrainian. The training, the ways of training, is it different? Having that experience being in the East Bloc and versus the US?
I would say it's more like about like the way you grow up in Ukraine. In Russia, like when you little there, you don't have video games, you don't have all those things. Like I mean, now in these days they have, but like, so people are already like hungry for the wins, for the titles, for money, you know, because they know they're gonna win, they're gonna get some money, and usually like, I don't know, when we were kids, we weren't like playing video games at home. We were just like going. We didn't even have TV. We had, but like it was showing like 3-4 channels, you know.
Right.
So all we did like either it's training, either we go out with our friends, we play some soccer or something like that, you know. Like we don't really, and that's how we grow up. And when I see kids these days, like it's funny. Maybe that's mental thing. Whenever it builds up in Russia. Character. You see Dagestan, for instance, like Habib wrestles bears and all that. Have you seen kids doing that right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it comes like first with mentality, then it goes like hard work, and and the technique just develops every day.
Did you wrestle on the international scene for the US?
Never. I did a couple international tournaments here, but I never went out of the country and wrestled.
Do you ever go against a Russian wrestler or Persian wrestler?
Yeah, one of my weirdest matches, I was a sophomore and I was probably like top 5 in the country in my weight class. We went to Vegas and I rattled off like 3 or 4 wins. It was Greco actually. Right off like 3 or 4 wins, and then my next kid, he comes out and he's got a full like a jumpsuit like Russia, and it says Russia. I'm like, I've never seen this kid before. Like, who is he? We go out there, and he's just like putting it on me at first. I'm like, he took me by surprise. I ended up getting disqualified from the match, but he was tough. He would have beat.
What did you do?
I like the reverse lift, and I went straight down, basically like an Undertaker, like
yeah.
Well, when you do it, you're supposed to have arch.
Yes.
So you lift him. It's like a reverse lift, and you're supposed to have arch. You can't bring him straight down like a pile driver. And I did that too many times in a row. So yeah, but yeah, that was my first experience, and I've wrestled a couple. After that, actually, my coaches my high school coaches were from Uzbekistan. One was Eric Erkin. He's the assistant coach right now at North Dakota State University, I believe. And then Musaf, who is assistant coach at Harvard right now.
Oh, wow.
And they both lived with us and lived with me when I was growing up in high school. So their freestyle took my freestyle to the next level.
Both of you from a wrestling background. How important do you feel that the wrestling is for your game when it comes to mixed martial arts? We just had 2 guys here that also fights for RFA. They're out of Nebraska, and they, you know, that was the bread and butter growing up. How important is it for your mixed martial arts?
I think it gives you a little bit of an advantage as far as you come in from a wrestling background. Wrestling is your mainstay, so you can focus on all these other aspects of mixed martial arts. You're always going to have wrestling in your back pocket. As far as, you know, you get rocked, I can take you down, or it's not going your way on the feet, I can take you down. You know what I mean? A lot of these people that are like stand-up or jiu-jitsu or whatever the case may be, they don't have that same ace in their up their sleeve. You know, if you're a stand-up fighter and I'm somehow getting the better of you, you can't take me down, and I could take you down at will, or it would.
Yeah, right.
You would assume so. I
Right.
could. So I think it just puts that ace up your sleeve. You know.
No.
I mean, Matthew is a great example. Like the way he fights, he just throws, you know, like, and whenever like he needs a takedown, he'll get it if he gets caught. If someone tries to take him down, you know, all he needs to just like we need to focus on boxing and some jiu-jitsu like defense. I would say more because we already have like I'm fighting right now like a jiu-jitsu guy, but I believe
High level black belt too.
Yeah, but I believe that like you know, wrestling was so much more developed in these years, and jiu-jitsu is like kind of like a new sport. He's a very good. I saw him like on YouTube, like grappling with the high-level black belts, and he was winning. But what I'm saying is, like, I think wrestling still gives advantage, even in jiu-jitsu. It's not jiu-jitsu match; it's a fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can punch in the face, then
He's got to be able to take you down in order to
yeah,
do
first
any of that,
he got to take me down to submit me, or but I believe I'm not worried about going for takedown because I know we can control him, stay on top, heavy and all that, you know, and we're gonna punch in the face too, you know. We're not just gonna grapple there.
You come across training and stuff. You train with these high level black belts or brown belts or whatever, and it's the same thing across the board. What do they say? Wrestlers are the hardest to sweep. They're the hardest to submit because you're positioning. You have lower back strength. You have you know, strong neck, strong backs. You know, they can't pull you down and get you in the triangle and break your position. You know what I mean? So that and you know, I'm talking like I've probably done like 2 months of jiu-jitsu in my whole life, you know, and all together.
Really?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of jiu-jitsu. And I'm grappling with brown belts and black belts, and it's not like we go 5-10 minutes, and it's not like they're just pulling off submission after submission. You know, I'm passing, I'm getting their back and stuff like that. So that it's kind of like a natural transition, but
You feel those positions better.
Across the board, you can ask any jiu-jitsu guy who of the aspects of mixed martial arts who's going to be your hardest to submit, and most of the time it's going to be wrestling. I would say all the time it's going to be wrestling. You know.
Now we know that you've developed your stand-up game because we've seen it in your fights and we've talked to you about this before. Do you feel like working with Edmund has made you not just the wrestler with some stand-up, a full-rounded mixed martial artist, or do you still rely mostly on your wrestling?
You know what? Like, to be honest with you, all my fights went like kind of like, I don't know how to explain. They were only going my way, so I was the one dictating. Always like, I want to wrestle, I'm gonna wrestle.
Right.
And I believe that people don't even know about my stand-up. Like, I box. I spar with a lot of boxers. I do boxing sparring, so my stand-up, I believe, got way better. And yeah, with Edmund especially. You know what's the thing about Edmund? People consider him only a stand-up coach, but when you work with him in the gym, you will understand, like, the way he tells you the things, like in the cage. Sometimes in some certain positions, he understands wrestling better than me. Even he never wrestled in real life, but like MMA wrestling, like when I have to punch, when I have to go for takedown, timing and all that, he has very good awareness of that. That's why Ronda's like, I believe her boxing is that good because like he knows when she'll have to mix it up with her judo, you know?
So what makes Edmund such a good coach? Because he does come from a boxing background, but obviously he's been...
He comes from Muay Thai, actually. Yeah. Like,
really?
He just started coaching a lot of boxers because he's like very technical, like he understands all this movement, but he's a Muay Thai world champion. Like,
you haven't seen his videos? Like he's throwing spinning kicks.
No, I've
like
only seen him... I haven't even seen him
like
hold for pads for kicks ever. I've only seen him... whole punch, and when I seen him move himself,
he fights. You know, the thing is, like I saw his fighting, like he just goes and he throws. You know, he throws bombs, even though he looks skinny and all that.
Yeah.
But like his first MMA fight, he just knocks this kid out with a knee and like out cold and all that. Just watch his highlights. Like I mean, he's a Muay Thai guy, but then he started. Like, I don't even throw kicks because.
Did he start Muay Thai before he started boxing?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
I believe
because
he did,
obviously
yeah.
he's an MMA fighter. So I
I think he
learned
started from
everything
karate
else.
background, and then he did Muay Thai, and then he started like teaching boxing. He wasn't even doing boxing. I don't think he did boxing. He's like he competed in boxing. He just started like teaching Big Darchin and all those
Wow.
guys.
Yeah, I have to look up his kicking
So,
abilities.
I think the awareness of like. From karate background, Muay Thai, boxing, you know, he learned so many disciplines, and then when he started working with Ronda, he started learning more like judo styles, and judo is very close to wrestling. When he saw those wrestlers, you know, I think he picks up everything, and he's smart, you know, he understands those things, and you know, helps me a lot with the transition from boxing to wrestling, because he knows I can wrestle, so I can go there and box and like try to knock people out, and if something doesn't work out, I will always be able to go for takedown.
So, is it his experience as a fighter himself, you think, that makes him such a good coach? Or, as you said, he's intelligent?
Yeah, both.
What makes him the combination of the two?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you never fought in your life, it's hard for you to coach people because you don't understand how it feels in a ring. Like some people teach wrestling from the books. I don't get it because they never wrestle in their life. And you know what? Like I can do some crazy moves in the gym, but when you go to the real match, it's so different. Like even in the fight, you know, like something works, and then you go in the fight, you get hit in the face, and you forget all your technique. You know, like the coach must understand that. Even sometimes he tells me like, Vardan, because he knows I always go forward in sparrings, and he tells me, Vardan, I want you just this round, just back up, do your defense. What if you get hit, you get caught with a punch? You don't want to go for the some takedown, like which is not gonna work when you get caught, you know. So he wants me only to go defense, just tight defense and all that, you know, just block some shots until I recover, you know. Like those things are important because other coaches they think like you can just keep countering people or something like that, but they've never been in the ring.
Yeah,
that's so true.
To jump on his point, I'll never take. Well, I shouldn't say never, but I'm very skeptical to take advice from a coach that hasn't been in some kind of combat sport. Even like wrestling coaches, they'll like try to tell you. I'm like, well, it's not the same. Like when you're in the cage. You can't just shoot a low ankle or a double or what. It doesn't.
Without shoes.
Yeah, right.
Without
a lot
shoes, that's
like
right.
single legs and stuff. It's easy to slip out, and like these coaches are like, why don't you just do this? And you're like, well, that's the whole point. You've never been in the ring, so you don't understand that other aspect of the MMA part. You understand the wrestling part perfectly, but you don't understand wrestling for MMA purposes. So it's hard for me to take criticism or technique from somebody that hasn't got punched in the face.
No, I would say I would always listen because like people see better from the side, but I'll just pick up for you some stuff and
choose for you.
Choose who you want to listen to. But the main coach is like always the ones. You know, I have a great wrestling coach. I have Martin Barbarian. He's 3 times Olympian, world bronze medalist, European champion, high level wrestler. He's like so little, he still takes me down and all that. You know, I have a boxing coach, and I have right now I work. It was like. People didn't know, like I work with Romulo Barral. He's like highest level jiu-jitsu guy over there, you know.
Yeah,
and he works with me 3 times a week, so my jiu-jitsu gets on point. You know Romulo Barral.
I know
right?
Romulo very well. He has Gracie Barra Northridge.
Yeah, I go to Studio 540. I grapple with a guy like Keenan Cornelius, and I don't think like those guys are the highest level of jiu-jitsu. And if I'll be able to hang out with them a little bit, I mean they catch me, but like still, you know, I believe I have the best team. And if I keep listening to those guys, you know, they're the best in their disciplines. So everything will work great.
Both of you seem like you have on-point training for these fights. You both seem very ready and very confident. Now, I want to ask you guys, what are you going in here with the game plan, or are you going in here like, I'm going to fight my fight, and he's going to follow? What kind of mindset? I know yours a little bit from the last time. I'll get your opinion in just a second. But what kind of mindset are you going into this fight with?
I always go like, even when I wrestle, I've never been like one of those guys who like counter wrestle someone. You know, as long as you push your pace, you put your things like, and they follow your lead, then even if you don't finish the fight, you still win it because you're the one who's working. Let him figure out what to do. You know, I believe in my skills. I believe in my boxing skills and wrestling skills, and you know, let him figure out what to do next. And every fight, there's like someone said that like there's a game plan only until you get like
hit
in the face.
Mike Tyson.
Like that's true. You know, like you get in the ring and you fight. I believe you have to fight your fight. You gotta go forward and do your things, and then let him figure out what to do. And in the judge's eyes, you will be winning, even if you don't finish him. Still, you're winning because you're the one
dictating the pace. Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about you, Matt?
Same exact thing. You know, we come from the same kind of background. The only thing is you know, you watch tape on him, like, you know, he's a jiu-jitsu guy. You know, he knows he's a jiu-jitsu. My guy's a Muay Thai, like, kickboxer. So I know I have to and kind of prepare for that. But that being said, that can't be my only focus. If you go out there and you're like, oh, God, I'm waiting for this kick, then you freeze. You don't implement your game plan, or you don't implement what you do the past 10 fights that you've done. You know what I mean? You're deer in the headlights, and that's when you get caught. So just go out there and fight. You know, go out there and then make adjustments when you need to make an adjustment. And like he said, make that guy go into the second round like, God, now what am I going to do now? Third round, oh, you know, I need a knockout now. You know what I mean? So you keep implementing, you go forward and just keep fighting, and sooner or later it's all in the basketball's in his court. You know, he has to be the one that's making the changes. He has to be the one that's freaking out, saying I'm down 2-0 on the scorecards. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like two guys, for instance, fighting for their life. Like they're fighting till the death. They're not gonna be like one of them. Not gonna be like countering and all that. He's gonna go forward to kill too. You know, and that's how they win. You can just fight for your life and just back up and keep countering. Like, I mean, some people in the fight obviously good at that, like Anderson Silva. Even Rahul, he's like a great example of that. You know,
and obviously with what's going on in the Ukraine, that's something was on the back of your mind, not as serious as in the Ukraine, but Rain, that's been your home. What happened with the gym? What's going on since last time?
So, you know, that gym's been open for 5 or 6 years now, and it just wasn't being profitable the way it should have been. So, Mark Munoz and his wife, you know, they put a lot of money into that gym, and they got to a point where I think they had to cut ties with it. You know, it just wasn't. Now that his fighting career was over, it wasn't going to be something that was going to help him, you know, be comfortable the rest of his life. It was probably going to hurt him. You know what I mean? Putting more money into it. So they just came to a decision where they were just going to disband it, and people were going to have to go their own ways. It's been hard. You know.
What have you done to adjust?
That's the fight game, right?
Yeah.
That's the fight game in a fight. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You have to make adjustments. And instead of, you know, like, oh, crap, now. Before, it was like, all right, in the mornings we'd go for our wrestling. You know, later on I would train boxing or whatever. Everything was so centralized. Everything was local. We live 3 minutes from the gym, so I could be there. My boxing coach, jiu-jitsu coach, I didn't have to travel anywhere. You know, I've had to make adjustments. Now I have to go to Costa Mesa for my jiu-jitsu. Now I have to go to Oceanside for my boxing. You know, my wrestling, I've been wrestling with a couple guys that actually were coached under Jacob Harmon. Steve Esparza, who is a 2-time California State champion and is a high school national champion, he actually coaches the Reign wrestlers with myself. So, you know, between practices, we'll get our wrestling in and we'll drill and get some good technique in. But like I said, it's the fight game. You have to be able to make adjustments and not be like, well.
Do you feel that you get the same training still, even though you have to go to different places?
I think it's actually better because it's more personalized. Now, he can attest to this. At Reign, you had Uriah Hall, Chael Sonnen, Mark Munoz, you know, Brennan Schaub, Jake Ellenberger, Jessica. We had all these high-level UFC guys and you know, big people, and then we have like us, so we're 3-0 or 4-0, and we're not.
Is that where you two know each other from, by the way?
Yeah, he came to Reign
I used to come
a
there to
lot.
wrestle with them because it was hard to find like a really good wrestling gym with the guys like my size and like who can actually like
wrestle?
give a challenge. Yeah. No, seriously.
Well, he didn't really have that problem either. He had to wrestle big guys at our gym.
No,
too,
Mark
so.
Munoz was a kind of big guy. And
Yeah, but he was a lot bigger than you. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but still, it was good to, you know. But it's hard to find a gym, and that's how we met. Yeah, like.
Absolutely. The wrestlers sticking together.
I feel like I'm getting a little bit more specialized treatment. You know, when I go down to my boxing, I get an hour and 15 minutes of just, you know, whatever I need to do. He's got a stable of boxers that I can spar with. You know what I mean? When I go to 10th Planet, it's, you know, if I have a fight coming up, you know, they really cater towards me and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've been able to focus on myself more rather than worry about, oh, crap, is someone going to come today that's my size, or you know what I mean, like.
10th Planet. I have to understand this because there's a lot of great fighters coming out of 10th Planet. I see it. You go up to headquarters, I presume.
No, I go to Costa Mesa one.
Costa Mesa. Oh, okay. But with Eddie Bravo, he's
that's the
LA.
one in LA, yeah.
But you know, a lot of good wrestlers go there as well. What I don't understand, I understand 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. I've competed against them and they're great. But from a wrestling background, when you want to, you've been the whole life, you've been on the top game, which also seems to make sense for MMA for most fighters, right? And whereas 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu tends to be back players.
Yes and no. So that's my whole thing with jiu-jitsu is you have to learn to be on your back, but you don't want to be on your back. So with Casey Halstead, he's the head coach down there at 10th Planet. As soon as I got there, I told him, I said, hey, listen, I'm not trying to become a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I want to learn jiu-jitsu for the purposes of learning jiu-jitsu. Like, if someone gets me a triangle, how am I going to get out? If someone gets me an armbar, how am I going to get out? His attacks, his coaching for me were personally specified. So, for a wrestler, wrestlers are attack. I feel like jiu-jitsu is more like I'm going to set up these 3 traps and one of them you're going to fall into. Wrestling is like, I'm going to push you into one of those traps. That's how in my head, how I can explain it. So, going from half guard, to your darces, to your chokes and whatever. I very rarely am I, trying to hit an arm bar from my back or something like that. So most of my coaching personally from him is geared towards, being more aggressive on top, being more aggressive in the front headlock, figuring out ways if you are on bottom, how to attack on bottom. That and you might have a different experience because you've actually competed against those guys in tournaments and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's for you,
just
exactly.
Me personally, I don't
Yeah,
know.
Absolutely.
I very rarely go to their Monday through Friday classes, technique and stuff like that. I go Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we do specified training for me. So I can't really talk to the bigger picture about that.
I think it's the same with every martial art with MMA. If you just learn how to box, but you don't learn how to throw kicks, you're not going to have the greatest stand-up in MMA. You need to take and give with every martial art, and I think that you're probably good at seeing the big picture and saying, okay, now I know how to do an armbar. I don't need to do it, but now I know how to get out of one, and I have it in my arsenal.
Exactly.
So I think that's a smart approach with it. Both of you having your wrestling background, I think it naturally sends a signal, stay off your back. Use jiu-jitsu, learn it, but stay off your back still. So I think that's a good knowledge having going into MMA with that.
Like, we're not going to pull a guard. Like, when I'm going, like, for the headlock, I'm, like, unless if I have, like, really deep, I feel like I have under the neck.
Right.
Even then, like, I will just do, like, some kind of, like, I do this guillotine, like, half guard kind of.
So
like
you can get on top.
I don't even hook
like,
my
me
left leg. Like, I just come on top with the right one. So I know if it doesn't work, I'm going to just push him away and get on top. Because, like, I don't know. I think when you're on your back, you're losing. Even though you're throwing all those triangles and arm bars, but they don't work. The guy doesn't do anything. He's still winning the fight. So what's the point of going on back?
There's been too many MMA fights where people are on their back and they're punishing you with elbows, but then they end up losing. They're like, why did I lose? And it's like, well, you were on your back the whole time. So position over submission is a big game in MMA that obviously you two get.
Yeah, like when I grapple, for instance, like there's one guy at the Homolo gym. He just got second place at the Worlds, at DCC Worlds at 99 kilos. Felipe Pena.
That's a big guy.
Yeah, the guys. But he's so smooth on the ground and all that. So whenever I grapple with him, he always like puts me in a position and like he knows I'm a wrestler and he tries to teach me a little bit because we're good friends, And he even told me that like, and Homolo tells me like all I need, and even Keenan like all I need like just to set up good positions to hit. I don't really need to go for the
punch.
For the
You have to stop.
he just said we're not like following, like we're not trying to chase belts and all that. Like I grapple with some black belts, brown belts. I go head to head with them, and they're asking me like, "What belt? Like, what's your ranking?" I'm like, "I don't even have white belt."
Exactly.
They're like, "Okay, well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not chasing that.
Absolutely.
I'm doing jiu-jitsu just to learn how to defend myself when I get trapped in some kind of submissions. Because this is fight. You get hit, anything can happen. Like even jiu-jitsu guy can take down wrestlers sometimes. And all we need, we're not chasing belts. We just need to learn how to set up good position to hit him in the face, you know.
You're chasing that UFC belt though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind
That's
of
the
belt.
only one belt we're chasing. The goal.
That's fun.
Your pro debut was actually a loss. I respected the case. I was there.
Did you see that fight?
I didn't see the fight, but I was there. And that's what's going to be the question. You were injured. What happened?
So what happened? It was kind of like lack of experience. Of you know what happens in wrestling when you get injured during the wrestling match? Like, I mean, you break your nose or you break your fingers or something bleeds, like, and nothing's going on. It's not like position, like nothing's going on. The referee kind of stops it, then they fix it, and you go back and wrestle, you know?
Right.
So what happened is like Salai we're cool, but like he knows what was going on. I was dominating this fight the whole first round, and second round just started. I went for takedown, and you know, like we're not used to wrestle without shoes, you know. So I think respecting the cage, they had a really bad mat.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah, it was like this, you know. So
Yeah.
my toes stuck between the mats, and when I pushed harder, like my big toe went on top of that. Like they kind of crossed each other. It didn't even hurt, and I pushed him on the fence, and we both looked down, and I'm like, I saw that it was dislocated, but nothing was going on. We weren't even fighting, and I kind of pointed to referee, and he just stopped the fight right away. So what happened next? Doctor came in, and I was like beating, like I wasn't even getting hit, you know, like, and the doctor got in the cage, and he's like, he fixed it right away. I'm like, fine, you know, it was kind of weird, but like it didn't hurt. And doctor asked me like, and Edmund got in the cage, and Edmund like, what happened? Can you fight? I'm like, yeah. And doctor was like, I think he's fine to fight. And David Michael Bell was the referee. Yeah. And he's like, no, I already waited the way you pointed on it. I'm like, oh man, like it was so, like I was so upset with that. And we weren't even trying to get a rematch. Salai, like the guy who I fought, he's a really cool guy, you know. I don't want to take anything away from him, you know. But like, I think I would have still, like, because I didn't know how to punch. I didn't know how to throw a punch. You know, all I did just wrestle. I was like picking him up, and I think it's on YouTube. I'll look it up. You know, yeah. So and my coach told me, don't consider it as a defeat. You know, you didn't get beat up. You didn't even like get hit. You know, I think I got hit a little bit. Like my nose a little bit was bleeding, but my nose is very sensitive. That's why. And yeah, and then I had 5 in a row. So he said even in my record it says TKO injury. Yeah, which makes, you know, I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
It happened. Still,
I read due to injury, and I was like, okay, it wasn't a real loss. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, well, still defeat. You know, his hand got raised, and I was pretty upset. I couldn't, like, oh my god, like I can take a defeat, like, in a fight. You know, in wrestling, I lost a lot of matches, but like, fight is a fight. You know, like, and we're wrestlers with the mentality like we can beat up anyone. You know, I can't even like take it. Like, it was hard. The first week, I didn't even want to talk to anybody. Imagine you undefeated, you losing the fight. Like,
I'm not gonna imagine that.
There you go.
So you've had 5 in a row. Last 2 fights are TKOs. This is your first fight with RFA, and here's a RFA vet. What would you tell Vardan to expect? What's different from Gladiator Challenge, for example, to RFA?
It's like going from high school baseball to minor league baseball. It's, you know, you have nicer equipment. The venues are nicer. Everything's run nicer. You're getting paid more money. It's just a step up. It's a bigger show, but
The thing about me, like, I feel like I can compete on a higher level. I can do better because, like, for instance, I fought my last fight, he was debuter, and like I didn't even consider him like being able to challenge. Like, a fight is a fight, anything can happen. You know, you get hit and you get rocked, like anything can happen whoever you fight. But I really believe, like, when you fight like someone lower level, you don't really like, you can't really focus like, oh, I'm gonna go fight, and you don't want to even take a risk and going like brawling with him, because like you taking risk of, you know, getting hit. Like, you don't get anything from beating the guy 0-0. You don't get anything. You knock him out 30 seconds, you still don't get anything. They will be, oh, okay, the guy was the beater. What if you lose? You know, I don't want to fight those fights anymore.
It's a lose-lose fight.
Yeah, we fought that fight because we couldn't fight anybody else. Nobody wants to fight wrestlers. You know, it's really hard to find on those local shows to find an opponent. And yeah, and I believe the RFA is a big step. You can't really, like, if you took a fight, you can't really like say no. I changed my mind. You know what I mean? And when you fight higher level competition, you already like prepared hard, like you know you have not like what you have to like you have not sorry for my English,
No,
you have nothing to lose there, you know, like you go in and you, like even if something happens bad in the fight, like you know it was a high level competition, like
Yeah.
I don't consider myself that I can lose that fight, but like you know anything can happen, and at least like and
big risk, big reward, right?
yeah, right. You
Why
know what I
put
mean?
your-
It's hard to explain.
And now you find now this is a step up. Where you were talking about the Uriah Hall fight from yesterday, and to be actually Armenian, really, even though he grew up in Iran. Gego Mousasi, that's a big step up for Uriah Hall. Now he's he's always it was a lot hype about him when he was winning on the show. He didn't win the finals, but that spinning heel kick and then that hype died out a little bit. Now he proved himself. You're talking about the Ultimate Fighter, someone who's been on the show twice. You're the black belt that you're fighting.
Cameron
Oh.
Diffley.
Cameron Diffley, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he was.
I think it was a coach once, but
Yeah.
it was on the
Okay,
Ultimate
okay.
Fighter.
He didn't
And
compete twice. Yeah.
yeah, and now on a bigger stage. Do you feel that it's a more difficult opponent because he's got a lot more experience? But
You know
how
what?
do you look at it?
Well, like I imagine myself if I would go to Ultimate Fighter and compete against him, we would be in the same ring. I actually went to tryouts and I believe I could get picked, and I made all the way to interview, and they canceled 170. They made only 155.
Yes, the last one.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
and I knew 100% I'm gonna be on the fighting for the house. And same thing, he just won the fight in the house, and then he lost to Neil Magny. He lost decision, but I believe if I was there on that show, I could compete against those guys, no problem, you know.
Good
I don't
mindset
think
to
it's
have.
like
It is. It's good not to put your opponent on this pedestal like a lot
I
of
don't
people
even
do.
look at it like I don't even look at that way. I don't think he's there. You know, he's 4-0, right? He doesn't have that many fights to consider him like highest level of fighter. You know, I mean, he beat like 2-3 good fights. You know, but I'm going to win. I'm not looking at the opponent's credentials. I'm going to fight for my life. It's not a wrestling match when you can even sometimes look at the opponent credentials and like. Even then, you know, you still want to win. But this is a fight. You know, it's not a it's not a joke. You fight for your life, and nobody cares. Even if I fight heavyweight, I'm still gonna go and try to kill him.
Rip his head off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
No,
you can't even
absolutely.
consider his achievements and whatever happened in the past. And we've seen so many times, even with Uriah Hall. You know, he just came out of Ultimate Fighter. He's a tough guy. His record is not like comparable to his whatever he's capable of. He's a very good fighter. You know, it was hard for me to pick that fight because I'm Armenian. Gegard is Armenian.
Yes.
I never met him, but I knew he used to train in our
Nicest
gym
guy.
a
Yeah.
little bit. So, but with Uriah, I used to train like a couple times at Rain, and we used to wrestle at Studio 540 a couple times. I was helping him with wrestling whatever I could. He was helping me, giving some tips on stand up. So it was hard to pick who I even go for. Like I just
Right.
it's a sport, you know, friends fight and friends fight. So.
Speaking of which, Uriah Hall called out Kelvin Gastelum.
Yes.
Did he
Oh,
really?
wow,
Yeah.
did he?
Yeah.
I didn't hear the interview.
It was on Twitter. He tweeted, I'm pretty sure, and he said he's calling out Kelvin Gastelum's next.
Well,
I
Calvin.
guess it
They
was
were
a
like
rematch.
friends after the fight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it
no,
was a
they
rematch.
well he came to
Find
Rain.
this.
Calvin, he came to Rain. They were both like together when they
That's
came.
what I thought. Yeah.
But his next fight's at 170.
Let's see.
Huh.
He's fighting Matt Brown.
I
He's
wouldn't
fighting
be
Matt
able
Brown
to
at
do
170. Remember?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, no,
it's just
absolutely.
come down.
I wouldn't be able
Let
to
me
do
find
something
it.
like that. I like to call out they're
Maybe-
not friends. There's no friends, right?
Maybe
Like,
you should. Yeah.
but still, like for me, would be hard to hard to fight. If I would fight someone and I'm already in the cage, I accept the fight. I would. I don't care who I'm fighting. If I already accept the fight, it means I want to fight that guy, and I'm gonna be ready to finish him. You know.
Right.
But it would be
Oh
hard to
no,
accept.
he's on deck like he's fighting next.
Oh, because they're
Oh, okay.
teammates.
Yeah, like
together.
you're
Okay.
Misunderstood that
If you
too.
would go to Twitter, you would make a
what
big
you
rumor
started.
just now.
I misunderstood.
I retract that statement and this rumor that I just put out into the world.
Dora is playing matchmaker here.
Yeah.
Right?
I actually misunderstood it too, though. When I read it, I misunderstood it.
Yeah, I completely thought.
Well, he's been having beef with
Uriah is the
Bisping,
nicest
though.
guy.
Yeah,
he
I
would
did
like
see
I
that.
want
to
to
see
see
that.
I did see that.
Bisping.
Really?
Yeah, because Bisping actually was like calling him out on the Fox.
calling Uriah.
Not calling him out, but like kind of like down talking him a little bit. They've had a couple Twitter beefs.
Michael Bisping
I was
has Twitter
afraid
beef
with everybody.
quite a
I was
few
afraid
people.
that Bisping didn't want to wrestle with
Oh,
me.
yeah.
He thought I'm like, I don't know how to wrestle. He's like, oh, I need someone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, whatever.
you know what? Once they put me in the circle with you, let's see.
Yeah.
Did you wrestle with him?
Oh.
No, I wrestled one of his buddies, but like I didn't go with him. But then he realized I'm a wrestler. But you know what? He like those kind of guys like a Bisping. They're when they go to the gyms, you can understand when they don't want to work with someone because there are targets everywhere. Like
Yeah.
someone like me will
Wanna
want to
test
work with him,
themselves,
but like
right.
someone like some people are dumb. They will go against him and they will try to hurt him so
Yeah.
they can actually talk around the gyms. Oh, I was wrestling with
Yeah.
Michael Bisping, or I was sparring with Michael Bisping, and I was beating him up. But maybe that's true because those guys they don't like Bisping. They don't really go like 100% during the training, but those guys will go, and I understand that way that. I would have said no to someone. I wouldn't spar someone I don't know. Because what if he's trying to hurt me? You know, like during the sparring, like he would do something on purpose, like pull some kind of knee bar or whatever, like and try to, you know what I mean?
Right. You
So
never
I don't know.
know.
I didn't take it as a.
No,
As an
no,
insult,
it-
yeah.
it makes sense.
Insult.
And of course, you don't want to risk it, right? Until anyway, we all had it. You go into the gym, you see someone you don't know, and especially the guy who goes, "Let's go." Like, I got this injury and that injury.
Yeah.
Boom.
You're like, all right.
Okay.
They're always targets, you know. Like that's why I think they don't. Actually, Neil Melanson. I don't know how I pronounce his
Yeah,
name
that's
right. He actually told me one time he's teaching Travis Brown, like for the grappling and all that, and I'm like, hey, like, have you ever considered sending Travis to some tournaments, like to compete, like grappling tournaments, to get more experience of competing, you know? And he said, like, Travis could compete against those guys, but he said the right thing, Neil. He said, like, but everywhere he goes, he will be target. Like, everyone will try to hurt him and all that, like, do unnecessary, like knee bars or arm bars. And
Right.
To
once
say
he
they
taps,
beat a
like, they're
UFC
going to
fighter.
keep pulling it and all. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so I understand when they do that.
Yeah. Talk about Rain and Alexander Gustafsson actually been there a few times. That's probably before your career and definitely
Yeah.
before you were here.
Never seen him in my life.
No. It was he used to go down to San Diego and prepare for fights down there at Lions.
Yeah.
And they went over to Reigns a couple of times. But we got the Olympic level wrestler Daniel Cormier versus Alexander Gustafsson. What's your take on that?
I mean, that's not a question you could ask a wrestler. I mean, I know Daniel Cormier is a very high level wrestler. He's not a, when the people say like,
But there's also a height difference in there.
the thing is, when people say like some of my friends, I wrestled for a while, but like maybe I didn't achieve something big like Daniel Cormier did. But like I know wrestlers, and when someone tells me like, oh, this guy fights tomorrow in UFC, he's like All American. I'm like,
no.
I'm like, okay, well, All American is like being from third to eighth, right?
Yeah, second.
First, second,
second.
from
to
second to eighth.
Yeah.
Like in Ukraine, if you like only first three,
Yeah.
you placer. Other ones like it's like
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter. Like they don't even like you lost. And you know what? Like I think it's like kind of in MMA when they consider like someone like All American being like a really top level of wrestlers. I know Daniel Cormier, what he's capable of. He's an Olympian. He wrestles so many international tournaments, and he's a very high level athlete.
So you think Daniel Cormier is going to win the fight?
I believe he will just. I
Really?
don't see like if you look at Alexander Gustafsson, he's not a very high level jiu-jitsu guy who can actually pull something really nasty on the ground right away. And like if I would fight someone taller than me, it would be like easiest fight because so much easier to take them down. They don't have as much power in the body locks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Daniel has a lot of power in the body clinches, and I think Alexander is not going to be able, to defend those takedowns. Even
So you think it's going to be a
against
stoppage?
John Jones.
No.
Maybe decision.
Submission?
It's going to be a decision.
Decision?
So you think Daniel Cormier decision?
Or he will just wear him out like he did to Anthony Johnson and like will
Stop him
finish
there.
him somewhere.
I think it's going to be the only thing is that because
You think who's going to win?
I think that DC is going to win, but it's not going to be as easy as he thinks. And I think that the reason why John Jones beat him is because he had some sort of wrestling. John Jones has a wrestling background, so takedowns were harder to get, and so I think the takedowns are going to be a little bit easier. But I still think that reach, it's going to pose a problem. But I think he'll wear him out. I think maybe like first two might go to Gustafsson, and then 3, 4, and 5 will be like DC.
You know what?
Yeah, I have.
Alexander is sorry for
No, go ahead.
Alexander is a younger fighter, and Daniel is like 35 or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying the age will make a difference, but I think Alexander has more like he will have more will in this fight to win, you know, and he can make it really hard for Daniel, but I still pick Daniel.
Yeah, coming off of Alexander Gustafsson's last fight, I think he's raring to go. I think he has a lot to prove, and I think that he's going to go into this fight really striving for that kill. But that being said, I see Cormier grinding him down, coming out with a fifth round decision victory. And I think Gustafsson's reach might be a little bit of a problem in the beginning, like you said, but he's a wrestler. He's going to adapt, and once he figures out how to work with that reach, it's going to be a clear victory for
You're going
Daniel
Gustafsson TKO, huh?
I don't think TKO. I don't think you can do that because I've seen. I've said this before. We were actually there for his. He was a substitute on the Strikeforce heavyweight tournament. Daniel Cormier, yeah, it was substitute.
DC, yeah.
And we were there with some of the Swedish coaches, and we were looking at him, and I said, I thought he was supposed to be an Olympic wrestler. He looks like a boxer. His boxing was so crisp back then already. And I did his first interview with him, and I nicest guy, and that mindset that he has when it comes to competition as well. He's a very all-rounded athlete. However, not just Alex's reach. If you watch Alex's footwork,
he's got the best footwork in the 205 pound division, I think.
And that is gonna put. I think that's gonna pose a problem. Now, again, another thing that people ask, we would never know, how does someone react after they've been knocked out? Never know how are they gonna be gun shy? Are they not as? They don't look at themselves as invincible, which is a very dangerous thing in fighting. Alex is very mentally strong, and he's shown it and he took Jones down, and his wrestling take. Jones did he take him down once? Maybe.
Once. Towards the end of the round, or the end of the fight.
And I think Alex won't be able to stop Daniel, but I think Alex will win a decision.
You know what? I'm sorry. You know what's the thing about Alex? I believe he can win. The only way he's gonna win, and that's actually possible. That it's hard to wrestle someone like well-rounded like Alex for 5 rounds.
And who doesn't want
to get tired,
game.
like Kane, for instance. Look at his last fight. He got tired, almost like nobody expected.
That was tired, yes.
Look, like if Daniel will just try to wrestle him the whole fight, after third, fourth round, he will get tired. He won't even feel his hands, and that's the chance for Alex to pull like TKO because.
I do think that the kryptonite for a good wrestler is good footwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen it time and time again. My example is Joanna and Jacek versus Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza had the best wrestling in the women's division.
You train with Carla too, right?
No, I just train with Jessica.
Okay.
She has amazing wrestling. We've seen it fight after fight after fight, and then we see it completely become null.
Nothing.
It didn't even matter that she had wrestling because of Joanna and Jacek's footwork. So I have faith in both sides.
Going back to that though, as far as like his mentality coming from like getting knocked out by Rumble, that was a headbutt.
Oh,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, it was in the Swedish newspaper. So
no, it was clear. It was clear that was for sure a headbutt.
That's what rocked him first.
Yeah. So for me, if I was in that position, I wouldn't question my chin because it's a headbutt. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't really question my chin or the fact that I got knocked out. I would say like, I got headbutted. That hurts a lot of people getting headbutted. I got knocked out in wrestling from a headbutt before.
Absolutely.
Being hit by a Rumble, you can't even question your chin, whoever you are.
So he might even be at a higher level mentally than people assume because I don't think he thinks the same way. I think he thinks, hey, that was a headbutt. It wasn't a clean punch. He didn't put this beautiful combination together and knock me out. Sure. You know what I mean? He came in and he caught me with the headbutt.
And Alex proven that he can take punches. Best of John, that spinning elbow that took him, and he was still on his feet. Yeah. The reason why he started going to Alliance was after Phil Davis.
Wrestling.
And he hasn't been taken down since then, basically. He's been a couple of times, we've gone back up, never been in trouble from a takedown. If he hasn't been able to get up right away, he's neutralized it. And he's done a lot of 5-5s, championship fights and championship rounds. Daniel Cormier has only done 1.
Well, that's gone the distance?
Yeah.
All 5, yeah. It's a valid point.
Only against John Jones.
Yep.
He went 5.
Yeah, but that's the only one that he's done. Gustafsson's done a couple.
Yeah, he's done several. So against
experience and comfortableness in the ring is definitely.
Gustafsson is like a new generation of MMA fighters, and
Even though he comes from a boxing background, he's become a hybrid fighter.
It's like in wrestling, you know, those guys, like, even if you're Olympic champion, but you're already, like, after 35, whatever years old, and someone comes, like, 25 years old, and he's just a national champ or even plays certain nationals, he will still, like, those guys are improving so much faster than, you know, because they keep learning from everyone, you know, they're improving so much faster. And I believe that Gustafsson, I believe we are, like, the new generation of the fighters, and we're improving so much faster than every day than those guys, because we're watching what they do and we're watching what someone else does in our gym, like someone lower level, and then, you know, I think we'll learn faster.
Talking about learning faster, we're gonna see a new and improved version of you. Not new and improved, it's just continuous improvement, right? Matt, we've seen a lot of you in RFA. Is there a lot of new and improved in you?
Improvement, always improvement.
Anything in particular you go like, just I can't tell you what, but watch for this?
No.
Or something.
Just watch.
Just watch.
Yeah.
I can't tell you anything.
I'm excited for his fight. I think I'm fighting one fight before you.
Yeah.
So I'm opening fight on the main
Yeah.
card. I'm just gonna go and watch.
You can grab your beer and sit down
celebrate
and watch.
my win and
Yeah.
just watch his fight. Because his fights are crazy. I saw one of them, like
Absolutely.
some crazy like rear neck choke he pulled someone. But the last fight was like when you posted on Facebook, I'm like, oh, did you just fight? Like, and then it was like crazy brawl. He reminds me this World Series of Fighting champion at 155, Justin.
He's actually from my home. We grew up
Gaji.
together.
Oh, you know
What's his last name?
We grew up. We were born in the same
What's his last name?
Gaethje.
Gaethje. Yeah, it's
Gaethje.
hard to pronounce his last.
I've
big
known
guy.
him since I was 3.
Oh wow.
We
Wow.
wrestled on the same team. We grew up all the way through middle school together.
How's his
That's why
wrestling?
there's
I
some
never seen him
similarities.
wrestling. He
Yeah.
always like knocks
He
people out.
he hates in all his interviews. He says he hates wrestling. How people wrestle because it's boring. Well, a lot of people they'll like Joe Warren. That was the most boring fight I've seen in a long time. I
Yeah.
can't stand him.
Yeah.
He took him down, just basically dry humped him for 15 minutes. So
Well,
that's
Robbie
what he
Lawler
doesn't-
is a wrestler, and he's not
But
a boring wrestler.
No,
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 definitely
no.
not.
But yeah, he doesn't like it. He just likes to throw bombs. That dude's a bad.
Yeah,
dude.
you kind of fight similar style.
I like
He
fighting.
gets caught and like
Yeah.
he just goes forward.
I like it.
love watching that kid. Like I think he's UFC is the one guy they're missing. He's like 15-0 right now, and he's like 13 finishes.
Well, he's not going to go to the UFC.
You don't think?
I mean,
getting
he's the
100
face of World Series
He's
of
getting
Fighting.
$100,000 a fight in World Series.
Why would he leave?
Why?
He's the
why?
face of World Series of Fighting. They're gonna promote.
I
him big
watched.
time.
Yeah.
Name the
that's
next guy that can beat him coming up in a World Series.
Right.
I mean,
True,
for a
but
personal like achievement, like I want to be the best in the world, then yes. But for stability and financial, why?
I mean, if UFC would want him, they
Yeah.
would just give him more money, I guess.
Right. They would have to match that pay.
It's a good point, and you got both, right? The business side of it, the entertainment of the sport, which is you gotta get paid, and then the other side is don't want to be a legend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know him well enough to say you don't think he'll go over?
He just signed a new. I do know him well enough, but he just signed a new 5-fight deal, and I think if the UFC can come close to what he's at, we grew up in a town of like miners and like hard middle class workers. He makes more than his dad does in one fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
So for him to go back and retire there or whatever the case may be, he would be set. So, but his mentality, he wants to be the best. I guarantee.
He
He
looks
wants
like
to
it.
be the
And
best.
also risk versus reward,
Reward,
right? So if you do make it
Absolutely.
and you make it all the way up to the top, as a champion in the UFC, he would make more.
More. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's something that is very good about MMA right now is that it's not feast or famine. You do have those other leagues that keep the UFC on their toes,
But
like
the
World Series
but
of
the
Fighting.
discrepancy is so high, and not only
It is.
not only in World Series, UFC belt. Did you guys see, like?
But
you
that's
guys-
what's gonna make getting closer though.
No, the discrepancy in pay from Tito Ortiz to the first guy that fought on the
Yeah.
card, you get 1,500 to
Absolutely.
300. I think that's the biggest problem in the sport, and I understand that you have to build yourself, but you get guys like, I don't know, like a Frankie Edgar, who's probably had 15 fights in the UFC, maybe, right? Something like that, like ballpark, and who's probably making 140, you know. And then you have guys that are making $300,000, $400,000 a fight, and you're just like, and then you have that guy that's making 1,500, not in the UFC, obviously, but
7,000.
Yeah,
I
that's
think, is
Yeah.
sad to
minimum.
get 1,500 for
it-
Bellator
now
fight,
it's
you
10.
know what I mean?
10.
10.
Okay,
They
even
just
better.
raised it, but I think that discrepancy between the low-level fighters, and I shouldn't even say low-level, I should say
Low-paid.
the low-paid are the show-starting fighters and your main event. I understand the business aspect of it, but I think.
But that's how
I get
you
what
gotta
you're
build
saying.
up, like those.
But
here-
you
but
should be
here's-
able to say when you make it to the UFC, you've made it.
But
You shouldn't be still struggling.
But
is what
that's
you're saying.
exactly what I'm saying. So when you're at Bellator or you're at World Series of Fighting or you're at RFA, or RFA is not that same way, but you get so let's take Bellator for example. Say you have 5 fights in Bellator, and at most you're probably making like 7, 35 and 35, or 5 and 5, 10 grand. You get out of that contract, you want to go to the UFC. Guess what you're going to make? 10. You're going to make 10 and 10, which is a step up, but that still you could be 15 and 1 and you're still going to make 10 and 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Depending on how good your manager is and how much support you have behind you and following and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying is that you get these guys that like Thomas Almeida, who was he 19 and 0 or 19 and 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
He's not making 100 grand. I guarantee he's not making 100 grand. That
Do you guys feel that there needs to be a union for fighters?
I don't know. I need to research, the whole aspects of what a union covers. I know, like when my dad was mining and stuff like that. When I was a young kid, when I was younger, they had a big union, and they really helped a lot of families and stuff like that. But I don't know too much about it to where I could say yes or no.
NFL, for example, didn't used to have a union, and they wouldn't make $200,000 at the time. Look at NFL now.
Yeah. Unionization is something that I think needs to happen in the future, and I think with things like the Reebok deal, we're mainstreaming the sport and we're on the right path to unionization. But at the same time, I think that the UFC needs competition, or else they can completely take advantage of the pay system.
Yeah.
Do you know who doesn't want the union?
Who?
The UFC.
Yeah. Of course not. And it makes sense, and you get it. But there's other sports, I'm not going to mention any names, where there's only one league.
Yeah.
And where they have complete manipulation of their athletes because there's nowhere else to go. So I'm happy that there's at least Bellator, the World Series of Fighting, that are at least giving decent pay cuts to the guys that deserve it. But I still think it's a problem, as do you, and I hope to see it grow soon.
Next week, October 2nd, I believe it is, yes. Alexander Gustafsson versus Daniel Cormier. Let's see who is right on that one. It's 3 versus 1 here. Let's see.
He's underdog for that, like Alexander, right?
He's got to be.
Yeah. He's,
Big?
There's not big.
I think 3-1, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Not Bader and Evans, but there's who's the other fight? There's a really good fight.
Oh, the co-main?
Is it the co-main? It's not Bader or
I actually
Evans.
don't know.
There's
I
a
just
really
know
good fight on
Alex.
that card.
Well, you guys talk and I'll look it up.
And then you guys on the 9th in Las Vegas. It's definitely your first fight in Las Vegas. Is your first fight in Vegas?
Yes.
Have you ever wrestled in Las Vegas?
Every year.
Oh, okay.
I've wrestled since
Never
I was
competed
5.
in Vegas, never.
Is that like a stepping stone?
You know what? When I was a kid, when I lived in Ukraine, and I was watching all those boxing fights, for instance, when Klitschko fought and all that, I was so excited, like, oh, these guys are fighting in Vegas, New York, and all that. And I was like I never even thought I'm gonna fight in my And then when I started fighting, I'm like, I have an opportunity now to fight in Vegas. So I think it's big. I think it's big for like people who are in Ukraine right now. Like my family, my friends, they're like, "Oh, Vardan is fighting in Vegas. That's huge."
He's made it.
Because they don't really know what is UFC, RFA, and all that. But he's fighting in Vegas. That's it.
And it's on TV.
It's on TV, right? And my parents, for sure, my dad is gonna like keep going whole like entire Armenian. Like Armenia is gonna know that Vardan is fighting in Vegas and all that. My dad's like that. He's like he loves to brag a little bit.
That's cool.
As all
You
parents
go to
do.
his.
I swear, you go to his office. It's like all like I'll take a picture one day and post it on
Like
Instagram.
a mural of you?
No. Like there's a bunch of like our diplomas. How you call it?
Yeah.
Our medals.
Yeah.
Everything. Me and I have a younger brother. He's a 3 times national champ now. He's trying out for Olympics next year.
Wow.
He's he's like your size. I think he's 60 kilos.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that guy whatever we want, he just collects everything, and so there's like a wall of fame, whatever.
That's
And
great.
whenever
That's
someone
great.
comes to his office, like first thing they're gonna see that it's crazy.
It's awesome when parents want to brag about their kids. Johnny Hendricks versus Tyrone Woodley is the co-main.
Oh, same night.
Yes,
Yeah,
I am
that's a
so
good-
excited for
Yeah,
that
I
fight.
wanna
Good
Fight.
Tyron Woodley is always a firework, and so is Johnny Hendricks. And then we have Ryan Bader, Rashad Evans, Jessica Evil Eye, and Juliana Pena.
Real quick, who do you think? Johnny Hendricks or Tyron Woodley?
Hendricks, 100%.
Hendricks.
Woodley.
Hendricks.
Really?
Hold on, who'd you go with?
I-
Hendricks?
Hendricks,
Okay.
yeah.
I said
Alright,
Woodley.
What about Bader versus Evans?
Bader's an old teammate of
Evans.
mine. I wrestled with him at AAC. I gotta go with
Bader,
Bader.
Evans.
He's coming off of 2 years. 2 years, no fights.
I think Evans.
Oh,
So it's 3 against 1. There's a few here we
Don't
agreeing
agree.
on.
Juliana Pena's on a hot streak. She won the Ultimate Fighter, but then was on a leave of absence for an injury.
Yeah.
She's
ACL,
coming back hot.
Yeah.
Jessica Evil Eye, though. Pretty tough opponent.
Eli.
Evil Eye.
Uh,
Like, I don't know.
I've never seen them
uh,
fight.
Pena's
I-
boxing.
I've seen Pena. She's tough. She's a very
I'm
tough
going
girl.
for Pena for the wrong reasons.
I'm going. Oh!
Was this
'Cause she's
Jessica
hot.
Eye supposed to fight?
No.
Was
That would
the
be so
Jessica Eye supposed to
unprofessional.
fight Ronda? Like then she lost.
she
the
lost,
fight?
yeah.
Oh,
Then
okay.
she lost,
Oh,
yeah.
to Misha, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big fight for
She also
Jessica Pena
fought-
if she wins.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a huge win for Juliana Pena, for
Oh,
sure.
sorry, just do that.
You can find the names. It's okay. We'll let you slide on that. So,
I
yeah.
mixed them up with Pena, Jessica Pena and Juliana. Pena.
Yes, man's
It's easy to
teammate.
do.
Looking forward to seeing you back in the cage for RFA. Looking forward to see you make your debut for RFA and what the future holds for both of you. And Dari, any news yet? Any wrestling
I
news
can't
for
tell
you?
you anything. Sorry, guys. Just follow me
Secrets.
on social media at Tough Daria.
And then watch me being right on October 2nd on Alexander Gustafsson versus Daniel Cormier. I love you, Daniel, though. I love what you do, and just not this one.
See you guys later.
Thank you guys for having us.